Laura, did you want to start with bowls?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have to press something first on my microphone. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You're
That was
welcome. That was
beautiful.
beautiful.
All right. I have a poem to read unless somebody wants to pray us in.
That sounds nice. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is for Father's Day, when both wings soar. This Father's Day, we honor gentle strength that bends without breaking, ancient prophecies of a bird learning to fly, both wings awakening. The masculine remembers how to cradle and create, while fathers birth new worlds where love won't wait. Barefoot on sacred ground, they teach children to feel the earth's electric heartbeat, vulnerable yet real. The Sophia Century calls every soul to rise beyond yesterday's narrow disguise. When fathers listen with hearts wide open, when strength includes tears long unspoken, the bird of humanity catches wind at last, soaring beyond shadows of our wounded past. So this comes from the I guess it's a Cherokee prophecy. I thought it was Cree, but then I've been reading lately it's Cherokee, and it's also acknowledged by the Baha'i faith, but it's called the Bird of Humanity. And it talks about this bird with a representative male and female wing. And that for centuries now, the male wing has been fully outstretched and actually overworked while the women have been sort of held back and suppressed. And so this bird is trying to fly, and it starts to fly in this circle of patriarchy, dominance, hierarchy, all of the things that have brought us to this state of the planet and the world and humanity. And so now's the time, the Sophia century in the 21st century is said in this prophecy to be unfolding and taking their equal place. So women are taking their equal place alongside men in balance and harmony so that that bird can learn to soar. And so that's the basic stance of the story. And what I thought I'd do is show you, I think I'll start with just the blog. I do have a study guide, but I think the blog is going to be the most straightforward thing to share here. But what inspired me to talk about this and continue to write about it, because I've been coming at it from the standpoint of women and equality. But when I was in Hawaii, my son was talking to me about how stressful it is for young white men to be raised in society these days when everybody's talking about, all the colors, BIPOC, black, brown, all the, all the variety and equality, et cetera, and that the white man is being targeted in some ways. And he felt like his sensitivity and his gentle way of being was not being acknowledged or understood, or, people were projecting the old hierarchy and patriarchy onto his psyche. And so I thought, oh, well, this is interesting to look at it from the male perspective and say, okay, how can we as fathers, and I get Father's Day wishes, well wishes too, by the way. But how do people who have been fathering in such a way start to be acknowledged in such a way that they can be seen as both the leader, the protector, and the balance listener, the good listener, and the person that's energetically fit to be in that role? So we talk about this energetic harmony. So Father's Day is a unique opportunity to explore how we restore that balance. And aside from this bird from humanity prophecy, I came across a doctor who was board certified in 3 different practices. And he went through the cycle of going through allopathic medicine, the traditional, we're going to treat with drugs and treat symptoms. But then he went into a birthing center and he started seeing the miracle of birth and wondering, oh, what's the energetic behind this? And how do we really know? And so he started studying that. And then he went through a couple of iterations of his practice and went back to functional medicine, which is more underlying cause, back to nature, thinking about how we generate the right energetic state of our being to change health, as opposed to being chemically induced with pills and that sort of thing. And then he went into the death phase, the doula side, and he started transitioning people from life to after. And he started seeing the miracles and the near death experiences that were confirming the unconditional love and all that sort of thing. And so now he's come full circle as this scientific brain, and he's an aging white man too. And he had the voice of, he could have done anything with his career. And he's bringing it all the way back to the nature's cycles and to the energetic state of being of the planet, and that we're all made of the same energetic source. And so source, he starts to talk about that. He says, and I never thought of myself as a spiritual person, but now the science is matching the spirit. And
Hmm.
I can do nothing else except talk about the energetic of this. So there's the ancient
Hmm.
wisdom behind not only the bird of humanity, but also bringing it into creation. And he's got a really amazing talk about the womb space and how, as humans are developed, from one cell into how many trillion cells, 70 trillion cells, how does a cell know to do that? And it's this, what he ends up calling divine intervention or divine plan of the energetic source of all that is and life as it is. So I think these are healing the generational patterns. And this is on the website, by the way, this blog, of the generational trauma of having 4 industrial revolutions where humans have tried to take over the earth and basically compromise the soils and compromise the health of our bodies and compromise the status of what is dominance and what is the status of the humans in this lifetime. Is it to dominate and take over and be in control and to change the natural environment, or is it something more balanced? And so that's the whole point of coming around to this healing of what we've been through and what we can do. And we could take it to a political conversation, or we could take it to a religious conversation. But to me, I like to think of it as just nature's law. And instead of all
What?
the dharma and all of the conditioning that we've been raised in, why not take a look at what our young people are growing up into? And can we nurture that? And can we all be good fathers and good mothers to these people and nurture their future path?
Mm.
So I'm wondering if you have any feedback on that and what you've experienced with your kids and your people in your lives that you've assisted in raising
Mm.
in this new environment.
Mm.
I think one of the things I was reflecting on was the time when I was growing up that my father worked at least 6 days a week, long hours. So I was really raised by my mother. And I'm wondering how many males in my generation were raised by their mothers, not by their fathers. And there was no interaction, with sports or things like that with the man. I don't know. It's just curious to see because it's the women that affect the boys that grow into men, and so I think in the evolution of what you're talking about, um, it's a natural unfoldment, and there's no right or wrong. And that when women decided to come forth, they thought they had to dress like men to get into the man's world. They had to be tough and strong, that type of thing. And we've evolved past that now.
Mhm.
And in the evolutionary process, I've enjoyed watching women's sports. They're incredible, whether it's softball or basketball or swimming. They're very competitive. So, but what interests me is in the yin and yang of it all is the power of creation. And when we look at it from a metaphysical point of view, we can say that the divine father and mother, they're the creators. They're the ones that we look at it from a masculine point of view when we say the father is the one that speaks the word, and the word goes into the womb of the mother, and out of that comes creation.
Awesome.
So you can't have one without the other.
Right.
And so when we look at the trilogy of life, whether it's the Trinity in the Christianity or the yin and yang of the Chinese, it's a metaphysical way of understanding how creation works. So as and when you're talking about the young men today, I have my grandson's 27 years old living with me, and I talked to some of his friends, um, and they've been very reluctant to get into relationships. Um, and the reason, primarily, what I'm hearing is that the girls today that are available uh, want both worlds. They want to have their freedom to be who they are, but they want the male to pick up the check and the traditional thing, and
Mhm.
uh, and the guys don't want to do that. And the struggle about money uh, in this phase of the young people's life is that here, particularly in California, they can't afford anything. They can hardly afford an apartment. Um, the cost of living is so high that it discourages um,
Mhm.
um,
Independence.
coupling
Yeah.
and marriage. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm reflecting on.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have two different sons and they've gone two different paths. And so the youngest in Hawaii, who inspired this talk, by the way, is the one who's taken that gentler, laid back, I'm off the beaten path kind of role.
Mhm.
And he's struggled too with relationships, even though in this retreat center style way of life, a lot of people flow through, but they don't stick and they don't
Mhm.
stay. And so he's having
Mhm.
the same thing with relationships. And when they're in those conversations as you would, money always comes up because where they stay usually costs on some level. You either have to work to earn your keep, or you have to pay
Mhm.
rent and work to
Mhm.
be fed, or whatever
Mhm.
this state of exchange is in these communal areas. And he's finding that, people float through and there are these attractions to people, but there's nothing that seems to be long term because they're nomadic in the way that they're living in this off-grid kind of way of life.
Mm.
Whereas
Trying to find their place.
yeah, yeah. And so that
Yeah.
makes it difficult too. And I ran the retreat centers in Sedona and Hawaii too, and I saw that. I saw a lot of the, nomadism going through. And sometimes people would travel in couples, but a lot of the people were just singles and always, in and out of relationships and not really settling into anything long term. Then I've
Mhm.
got my son who's in New York City, avid New Yorkers, total opposite of the Hawaii laid back lifestyle. And he's
Mhm.
married and he's been married for several years now. And they've got a viable business and everything's going, pretty well considering the
Mhm.
state of the
Mhm.
environment. And they're very stable and they're very long term and they have couples as friends, several different couples, but many of them are choosing not to have children. And part of it is
Mm.
financial, and part of
Mhm.
it is lifestyle. It's like this is a
Mhm.
lifestyle of events and, hit or miss bouts of intense, time away from home. They have pets, and those are their kids,
Mhm.
really, but they
Mhm.
even have struggles taking care of them, given the
Mhm.
lifestyle. And so they're now, these are people late 30s, 40-ish,
Mhm.
and they're choosing not to have children. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay. And this affects the entire planet in that we're seeing that the life expectancy is also going down, but also the population is starting to go down because of these
Mhm.
choices. And
Right.
so it's really interesting to kind of weigh the difference in my own family, my own children, you know.
Mhm.
One's in a regenerative agriculture lifestyle, feed the planet, let's make everything work. Yet he doesn't have a relationship where he would procreate, although we do have a granddaughter through her. Um, but then the other one is saying, we're in the hustle bustle of city life, and this is how
Mhm.
the future is for us. And they're
Mhm.
choosing not to procreate either. So it's like, huh. So there's full circle. The pendulum on both sides has
Yeah.
this consideration that they may not be raising children.
Oh.
So
Well,
what
see,
does that say?
I have three daughters and one son. All of my daughters have children. That would be where my six grandchildren come from. But my son can't become a father quick enough. He just wants to have a child in the worst way.
Yeah,
Um, but he's my son. That's like my mini me. He just self defines perseverance. I mean, this is a kid that, you know, had his way in his life, trying to figure it out, and got into the drugs and the drinking and the alcohol. And I just prayed to God and I said, I need an intervention and I'll take what you give me. And his intervention was being incarcerated for 4 months. But that was the best gift ever because now he's a new kid. He works for a huge pool company in a different state, New Hampshire, and he's doing amazing. He's
that's
making close
awesome.
to $100,000 a year. So, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah.
But these kids of today are funny, though. Jonathan wants to get married, but these kids, like so many of my clients' families say, "What's wrong with these kids today? Why don't they want to get married?" And I'm like, "You're asking me?" But it is a funny thing, and I just don't understand that. It's just, but it's almost like a generational thing I'm seeing, you
Well,
know?
I'm wondering if it's the marriage as the licensed certificate and its purpose in this new environment. I mean, to me, if you think about the collaboration and the cooperation, it's
Hmm.
not about the marriage bond that makes the difference as to whether or not you have kids or whether or not you live in community, whether you take these jobs, whether you travel. I think it's about interrelationships of people that in some cases don't require that commitment. And in some cases, people are saying, I like decade-long agreements to my marriages. We
Hmm.
renew our vows every 5 or 10 years just to maintain that sense that, yes, we are a couple, but they don't necessarily say this is forever because as we live longer, 10, 20 years extra, if we go down the right path of, saving our bodies and then the planet, um, does it make sense to be with the same partner? And Charlie, I want you to weigh in on this because you've got the most experience of us in longevity of a marriage. I mean, mine was 6 years long. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's about commitment to me. I don't know.
yeah, it's definitely a commitment, and it's a partnership, and it's
Mhm.
loyalty and willing to support one another. So it's a collaboration. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's a willingness to keep a partner that way. Um, but the senior guy in me is feeling like now I can be footloose and fancy free, but I don't have the body for it.
So you get creative.
So
Mhm. Ah,
like I'm looking to take a cruise or something, and you almost need a partner for traveling because it's too expensive if single supplements and all this type of thing. So
mhm.
Yeah.
I've been frantically looking around for partners to go with me. I'd like to
Uh-huh.
take a trip to like Iceland and
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, if you ever need a partner or
Yeah, you've
caretaker,
got
you
a
can
bunch of
call
people
on
right
me.
here.
I have medical experience.
you have medical experience. Well, that's cool. I'm looking at a cruise that maybe go out of Boston or out of New York to Iceland.
Ah,
But they do want you to have. They don't give you single supplements even. They won't even
Mm,
look at you.
really?
interesting.
Yeah, the
That's
single
interesting.
prices are way higher than than double occupancy. But if you
Interesting.
come to New York, you better get together with all of us here in New
Yeah,
England
because
That's
yeah,
right.
for a couple of
because we're not
days.
far from
That's a
New York.
requirement.
Yeah.
Well,
We're all close to New York.
yeah, Laura, I saw your shirt. Let's play and have fun. Do you want to go to Iceland?
Built to play.
Built to
She's in.
play, yeah.
She's the
That
first
was
one that
that
raised her hand.
Yeah.
that was the theme for the new softball fields. They were built to play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember you telling us
And
about that.
now that's the theme of the whole recreation department is built to play.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I got a shirt
Well,
and
very
I'm ready
cool.
to play.
Yep.
Yeah, good for
So
you.
now I have two granddaughters that are 28 and 30, and they're very different. The 30-year-old can't wait to be married and start a family,
Yeah.
but she sowed her oats in Miami for like 6 or 7 years. And I
Mhm.
mean, really sowed her oats.
Yeah,
But
yeah, she did.
now
But that's
she's
okay.
ready to settle down
Hmm.
and have a family. But the other one, the 28-year-old, she has a master's degree. She's in New York City and living life, and she is extremely independent. So
Hmm.
they're both very, very different. The
Hmm.
Hmm.
younger one doesn't want children. She
Hmm.
never
And
did.
that's okay, you know. It's okay.
Well, it's
Very
interesting
different
because my
from the same
eldest,
family.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, my eldest wants children, but he says it doesn't make sense. It's not practical. And he reminisces about his childhood and he loves it. And he wants to know his cousins and their kids and he wants to be around. He says, eventually I'll probably parent someone else's kids. But he says, I would love to have a biological kid. It just doesn't make sense right now.
How old is he?
He's 40.
Oh, still got time.
He does, but his wife is on that biological clock. So,
Wow. I was nursing my son at 40.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So,
So,
Charlie, you've got four generations. So, what are your grandkids compared to your kids in terms of longevity of relationships and building families?
Well, when I traveled to Sedona last month, I took two of my grandkids with me.
mhm.
One is 20, well, they're both about 27, 28. Um, they get the single lifestyle, and neither one of them are interested in making a commitment to a relationship for long term.
Yeah.
The granddaughter is a bartender at a resort, and she's the one that was in a relationship, and the guy beat the hell out of her, and he went to
Oh,
jail. So that was devastating to the fuss and the family. Um, and so I'm looking for someone like that generation to travel with me.
Yeah.
But now, but everybody has their path, so
yeah,
they've got
stuff they're doing in life.
they're gone back to school, or they've got a career path. Um, so the question again is, what does I do with? But I do have some grandkids that are married and having children, and they have beautiful family formations. They got excellent husbands.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, and so I encourage them financially to get the kids involved in swimming and
Mm-hmm.
soccer and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I love them all, and it's just it's a different time.
It's heart embracing having grandchildren. It really is, you know.
Yeah, to me, it's it's fun to really see the younger generation come up, and I encourage them to be whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
meant to be.
Right.
Yeah, I love that.
I have a daughter and granddaughter that are going to be taking Reiki classes from Miss Laura. So
Awesome.
I'm tickled to death that I got family members that are just following their mother's path, of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats. So Caitlin or
Yeah.
Katrina, how about you guys? Look at that. I just called you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi. Good
so
morning.
good morning. So I have, well, based on the conversation, I guess I have a little bit of a different perspective on the whole why people aren't having, the younger generation isn't having relationships or having children. And I hope that this message is received. It's my observer self. I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly. I think that there's systemically so many generations of dysfunction that it's coming to a head where the younger generation is just they've they've had enough. They may not understand it, but they just know that. And I'll speak from experience. My own family, parents stayed together for 28 years, and when we were little, when we would walk to school, we used to have conversations wishing our parents would get divorced.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think this whole thing about people being married for long term is necessarily was as productive or beneficial or a good role example for what a relationship or a healthy one looks like. My own mother was horribly codependent. That's not all that she was. She was wonderful. We were very, very close. And I got the mixture of both functional and dysfunctional qualities from both of them equally. That I spent many years refining the dysfunctional stuff on my own, but a lot of people are not. Their therapy was not talked about in my family. I was the pioneer. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we're seeing one, economically it's not feasible really necessarily to raise a family, perhaps for many reasons. I just think emotionally though, kids today are recognizing that they're emotionally more immature in their early 20s, I shall say, maybe not in their late 20s, but their early 20s, when generations before us were accustomed to people getting married and having children. So I think that that's the change, and I'm hoping it's going to culminate in a rebirthing on a spiritual level and or an awakening level at the least for the younger generations to recognize the patterns and breaking the patterns and bringing it back to a healthy nucleus. But I just people in my experience and from my generation, I've witnessed here recently people who have lost partners of 30 years and turn around within just a couple of months and start putting themselves out on the dating again because they can't be alone. It's not a judgment, it's an observation. And my takeaway is that that attracts other people who want to fix the person who needs to not be alone. And that dynamic in and of itself is not a good, healthy core. It's more of my observation. So there's a lot of relationship issues. And the first one is that we don't know how to have healthy relationships with ourselves. And for many generations, it has not been modeled for us systemically. I'm not talking individually. I know that there's plenty of people out there that have done wonderful jobs, have done the best that they can. Not speaking to that. I'm speaking specifically to what I view is a systemic, cultural, emotional, dysfunctional problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's where we
I
talk about.
agree with you.
Go ahead,
That's
Cindy.
okay. Go ahead.
No, no.
I agree with, I think a lot of it is, what have we seen in our lives, as family dynamic. But my mother was a very abusive alcoholic, but she got sober when I was 17. So I got to learn how to forgive. I got to understand what addiction was about. I got to learn what forgiveness was about. So that all taught me a lot. My parents were divorced at 13 and my mother was married 3 times, but my kids will make comments to me like, no, mom, that's not family. Now, my 2 children have known their parents, been together all of their lives, my 2 youngest. So I think that, a lot of it is, breaking the cycle. But I do agree that, mental health and dysfunctional families is a big part of our society today because I worked at the teen center for 15 years and a lot of those kids' parents were drinking and drugging when they were dropping their kids off at the teen center. So, what you see when you're younger, yeah, it can impact you. But for me, I just was like, no, that this is not okay. This is what family is in my world, and just made that something functional and healthy for my children. So, but it's not for everybody. I could have turned away and said, I don't ever want to have children because I don't want a horrible life like I had. But I ended up with twins and 2 more kids, and they turned out to be good human beings. But I think a lot of it is instilled from what they see in their mother and father. At least that's what my kids tell me anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of emphasis now that the veil is thinning and we're getting a little bit more open about talking about spiritual and healing, and
Mm-hmm.
this generational trauma is a big deal. And I'd love to hear from Katrina on what she's experienced with healing the past and the future.
So I very much agree with what has been said about the issues that have been going on. But I guess my answer would be more of an energetic one as well. But that really transcends to mental and spiritual, physical. It's all of that. If when you talk about like energy and how that works. So my belief and what I've seen is, when we're born into this world, right? We come through the womb of the woman, and it is there where we hold our traumas in the sacral, right? And men hold a lot of their trauma in their testes. So when we're born, we take on the energy of our parents, and that goes back and back and back. And so that's where that generational trauma comes from. Women who have no men in the family, men who are raising the kids or all of the issues that the parents had and the children seem to take on and don't know why. You ever had like fears, you don't know where they came from, but oh, my mom was scared of this, or grandma used to do this, or so on and so forth. And that's how we end up having the generational trauma. And what I see is that we are the trauma, or what we're the trauma stoppers, right? For lack of winning another word, where those generational curses come from, and that's what we call them. Um, we're the ones who bring light to it. The way that we raise our children is where we stop that and we bring clarity to certain things, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This younger generation, they are so spiritually in tune, and we're the ones who have been raising them. My daughters and my sons are phenomenal. I raised my children, and even though they had their dads, they didn't have their dads in the way that I would have wanted them to, but they had their dads in ways that I didn't have mine. Even so, there were still things that I had to bring light to, things that I still had to nurture because their dads had their own trauma. Like we all have our own traumas. But this generation, I think maybe some of them are not getting married or wanting the relationships because they see what they have to heal in themselves. And they're smart enough to know, you know what, maybe I'm not mature enough for that because I need to take care of me first.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter just turned 21, and yeah, she's in her relationship and everything. And my daughter, who is 35 now, will be 36 this year, in her relationship as well. They're all in their relationships. My oldest son is not. He's working on himself. And that is something that is so smart. When I give readings, there was one girl who was like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to know when I'm going to be in my next relationship." And I had to be like, "Honey, but you just got out of this one. You need to heal first, right?" So you have some people that are like that, and some people who are like, "I got to take care of me first." It is such a smart decision to decide to work on yourself first before getting in a relationship, because hurt people, and that causes even more trauma. I just feel like they're just so in tuned. Like if you're on TikTok or social media and you see the different things that they do and they say, it's so healing. So yeah, taking care of themselves first is it's amazing, and it's so absolutely necessary to be happy in a relationship, to spread happiness to your relationship, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that really is my take on it. I feel like they're healing. They're healing themselves, they're healing each other. We're all healing each other. We're just in this healing phase. So when the relationship is meant to happen, it will happen. Whether they're 40 or 22 or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's all divine timing.
Right. Hey, yeah, I'm going to make you laugh. I said to my son a couple months ago, he was in this terrible relationship with this girl, and she was just using him. And she had a year-old son that she was using my son, having him call dad, dad. That was awful. I said to my son, I said, listen, Jonathan, you got to learn what a functional relationship is, and this isn't one. I said, so I'm going to pray and manifest you a new girlfriend. And it was a family laugh with all of my kids, okay? And don't you want to know what happened 2 months later? After he broke up with this girl, he met a nice girl. She's adopted, but she's very sweet. She's in nursing school and she has an education and she's the sweetest thing ever. So, how funny is that? I don't know that praying and manifesting had anything to do with it, but you know what? Good
Set the
things
intention.
happen. Yep. Yep.
Wonderful. Like
You know,
it.
you're talking about relationship with grandkids. What's wonderful about that was the would often turn to us rather than their parents, um, because we had more seasoned advice, I guess. And whether it was relationships with others, or how to progress or how to move through this or that.
Mhm.
Um, so we have had some influence on the raising of our grandkids and still do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm glad they turned to us. And it's pretty nice. You don't have the take care of them, but you can help them out from the benefit of your experience.
Yeah, and then send them off.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah,
Well, and what I've recognized in your family, Charlie, and I'm just amazed. I just think you've done a phenomenal job. You have great kids and grandkids and great grands, and they're just so special to be around. And I think your influence of being that active soul
Mhm.
that just
Yep.
goes out and does stuff and lives life and enjoys life instead of being at home in this bubble of I have to provide and I
Yep.
have to take care. I think you guys are way out there in front of the pack in
yeah.
Yep.
modeling.
And
Awesome.
that gets back to the relationship with my wife, right? We
Yeah.
provide a healthy foundation for
Hmm.
kids to grow up in, and we were very real with them. We lived our lives the best we knew how, but and my kids today kid me about how I made them work, how they had to pull weeds for 25 cents or
Yeah.
whatever, 50 cents, or I owned a shopping center and I had them, sweep the this and that or vacuum that or clean the toilet. So
Hmm.
they grew up in a real world where they were productive.
Hmm. Same thing with me. My kids all had chores, even if it was emptying the bathroom basket or sweeping the floor. I was all about the takes a family. What does it go to run
Takes
a
a
village or
village.
something
Yeah.
to run a family? Truth.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, I wanted to address something that you said about looking for somebody to go on the cruise with. Years ago, when I discovered that I needed to date myself, take myself on at least a weekly date. So, in preparation for dating, to better have a relationship with myself and be more in touch with myself. So, I found that when I would go out to eat, especially in that in situation, I made it a point where I had to talk to the person who was serving me, maybe make a comment or talk to somebody at the table next to me. And I was amazed years ago at um, just the attracting such open and friendly and you know wonderful people. So I'm wondering if maybe going on the cruise alone, you wouldn't actually meet a group of people or some other people that would welcome you into their fold and you wouldn't be alone on the cruise.
Yeah, well, my first take is to invite members of my family. The second is to invite friends that might be available. Um, I am social. I definitely out there. Even when you're married, you're looking for someone else to have in mind. If you lose your partner, it's like you've got somebody in reserve, kind of. I have a friend like that lost her husband. She's a delightful being. Um, and I've got other friends that have lost their spouse. So we generally, when we can, we will travel together.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
It's hard
at
to learn
my
how to
at my
live
age,
life differently.
at my age in traveling, it's nice to have a support system to know that
Mhm.
if I need somebody to help me with lifting a suitcase or something,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's nice to have that. Or I mean, I'm so used to always having support that I will continue. I'll find somebody. I
Yeah.
definitely will find somebody to travel with me.
Yep. And we want pictures.
Okay.
We want to live vicariously
Definitely.
through you.
I've kind of noticed that with the younger generation, they have learned from our screw ups at older generations, you know. The mom and dad wasn't as apple pie as we tried to make it seem. I'm not finding that the young generation are having any problem with dating each other. I don't have kids, but one of my good friends has a top-notch son. He does everything. He has three girlfriends. And they all know about each other. It's
Yep.
all polyamorous, and it appears to be
Acceptable?
acceptable and it's a healthy relationship. They all coordinate with each other on dates and things like that.
Wow.
But
Huh.
to bring this conversation back to, the male and female aspect, I read through that blog last night,
Mhm.
and it talked about the male becoming more feminine and the feminine becoming more male. And it made me think of, I didn't understand the need for women to live until I went into the outside world of home.
Yeah.
Because growing up in the Maritimes, when you grow up in a fishing village,
Mhm.
uh, household chores are divided, or they're combined, and it was nothing to see my father with a vacuum cleaner and my mother with a hammer. And it's because when you have a fishing village, the men all go out to sea for 3 months or whatever the time is. So the women have to cover the duties and probably do them a lot better. And so that made me think of that whole feminization thing and whatever. But I take it back to my work with advancing gay rights and things like that. Back in the 60s, we had very toxic masculinity and whatever the war, and everybody was shoot 'em up. Then in the 70s and 80s, it became uh, gay rights were becoming an issue. And all of a sudden, the patriarchy fought back tooth and nail. If you accepted gay folks, you were effeminate, and they made feminine traits bad. And you see the toxic masculinity uh, uh, trying to exert itself now. And if you aren't macho the way we tell you macho is, and there's no allowance for, they don't want allowance for softer, gentler males or whatever. And that's where we have to really support the folks who feel like they have been left out because they have been targeted. That you join us or you're on the wrong side. And we are the ones that are going to make you real men. We are the ones that are going to make you boss of your home. And women will submit to your power as a man. And that is now being on the upsurge. And so we have to minister to the ones who are feeling left out. And they're feeling left out because for 40, 50 years, we've moved all the jobs overseas. So when you don't have a good living, you worry about your own self-worth. And so
Mhm.
we got to bring all that back. And in minister to the folks who are feeling left out and convincing them that they're not left out. You know, the Beatitudes have become a swear word, and that's not right. But they become a swear word because they're trying to infuse toxic masculinity back into society. And if you're not toxic, then you're weak and you're probably gay.
Mm.
And that's what it all boils down to, from what I've seen. And I saw the pushback in courts. I saw the pushback at our parades. I saw the pushback every time you turn around. And it's the same people pushing back, the ones who are already toxic and really happy with being toxic because they feel powerful.
Yeah. I've seen some
That's my soapbox for the day.
I like it. It's a very good point. But I think that those of us that want to see the light in the world come through and prevail,
Mhm.
need to be the model and
Agreed.
be the example. And I saw this
Mhm.
really wonderful interview with Deepak Chopra the other day, and he was talking about love and just being love and
Kindness. Be
exuding all
kind,
that.
human.
He said with Trump, he basically said, that man needs attention. He needs love and understanding and empathy. And if you just give him that, that will diffuse some of these crazy disruptions that he's going out and creating just for the
Mhm.
attention. And it was amazing just to walk him through that because the interviewer kept challenging him on stuff. And it's like, you mean you love somebody who would do this, that, and the other? He says, yes, yes, that's what we're here to do, is to be love and to exhibit that and be forgiving. And when you do that, it diffuses some of the boilerplate crazy that's going on out there. So I thought that was really an interesting point of view because we all say it, but do we do it?
Yeah, I don't know if that would help Trump, but it would help the
Mm.
individual
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
Right.
causing Trump. Now, Kevin, how do you feel about becoming the 51st state of the United States?
Elbows up. There's no chance on that one happening.
Well, I hope so. He just wants to change everything. The man is just weird, crazy. I don't know. At the end of the day, is it like not rocket science? Can't we just accept each other for who we are? Because we're, all individual beings, but at the end of the day, we all bleed red blood. And just, treat each other with love, kindness, and respect. Why can't we do that? Why is it so hard?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's a threat to the
The status
powers
Life.
that
quo.
be that are presently in power, and it's a
Hmm.
threat to them. And I mean, like I said, 40 years was all about working with respect from people. I didn't want you to tolerate me. I wanted you to respect me. And,
Hmm.
and we have to change people's lives one heart at a time.
Yeah.
Uh, I never went at it that I had to convince a million people to agree with me. I only wanted one person to agree with me and build it out from there. And that's why the uh, LGBT movement was as successful as it was, and far from perfect. It had its imperfections, but our goal was to respect each other,
Hmm.
or try to respect each other.
Absolutely.
And today we're seeing lack of respect, and we're treated like idiots, and we just have to keep praying for love to consume this.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, Kevin, this week I found myself, because a senator wasn't respected, then he was thrown in handcuffed. I was outraged. I
Yeah.
went into outrage and I text my three sons and about my outrage and how disappointed. And even the FBI and Fox News didn't even want to acknowledge that the person was a senator, but they finally had to acknowledge that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and all he wanted to do was ask a question. And I felt that's a Hitler tactics if I ever saw one. And so the three responses I got from my sons were totally different. One was saying, I don't, I'm out fishing. I don't want to think about troubles. I'm in nature. Another son was kind of neutral on it. And the third son was saying, I don't want to get involved in politics with you because,
Our kids. Yeah.
yeah, so disrespect is happening. I don't
Hmm.
know what we can do to change it. But here's some humor. Here's some humor. My neighbor across the street has been there forever. Um, he has three daughters, and they're all grown now and having children. Um, and his wife. He was divorced for 6 years before I even knew it. And he lives right across the street from me
Wow.
because he was always coming back to his house. He looked like he lived there. But the truth is, he had a separate house. So I saw him the other day and I went up to him and I said, Doug, if I had all your beautiful hair, I'd find myself a woman. And you know what he said to me? He
What?
said, "You're better off being bald and happy."
I love it. Oh my goodness. I'm going to shut off because my son just showed his happy face, surprisingly, from New Hampshire to see his dad. So
All right.
have a happy Father's Day, Charlie, and blessings to everyone. See you next week.
Love
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye
Well,
bye.
All
what's
right.
happening next week? Yeah,
Next
Terry.
week we have Tony Boehm. So
Oh,
she's going to do the legacy interview. She used to be in the ministry. She was head of, was it the education? And she did the backpacks for humanity, where they would give backpacks to school kids and indigenous every year.
oh, she's got quite a background. She comes out of a medical model,
Yeah.
I think, in head of nursing or something.
Yeah.
But she was also at one point in charge of the School of Ministry for the Unity churches.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
she's a vital lady, vital force.
Very big resume. And then the week after, we'll have Terry doing practice on our remote viewing stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for celebrating Father's Day with me today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day, Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
happy Father's Day. And to all the other women too, because you all stepped up
Yep. Yep.
and played the role of father, and you just morphed into it. There was, stepping up is not quite the right term, but kudos to you. Happy Father's Day to y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
point. Good
All
point.
right.
Good
Yeah.
I
point.
think I deserve it because I was mother and father.
Yep. My
Yeah.
kids
Look
give
at
me
all the
Father's Day
women
blessings
you
always.
guided in baseball. Look
Yep.
at all the women that you guided. You were playing a male role when it wasn't uh
Popular.
kosher to be a woman guiding a baseball team.
Right.
And you were guiding them as good as any father would.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome. So there's some links in the chat if you want to grab that, save your chat. Otherwise, they're on the blog, and I will have that linked over to the study guide, which is another piece if you want to do any further work with these people, thinking about the bird of humanity, masculine, feminine balance, and
So if I
Surviving.
did want to save something in chat, I'd just go to the chat, open it, and then hit copy or something.
You could either cut and paste it, or if you go to the three dots, it'll give you a chance to save the chat. And then after we go off, you'll get this box that comes up that shows the chat, and you save it to your hard drive.
Okay, thank you. All right, you all. Hope you have a ranging good week, and hopefully we'll chat next week.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Wait. I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a joke. I got a joke for you, Charlie.
Okay.
If women with big breasts work at Hooters, where do women with one leg work?
Scooters.
That's a woman with big breasts that work at Hooters. Where do
If
women with one
Where do
leg?
women with one leg work?
I give up. Where?
IHOP.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
On that note, have a great week. Love you all.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
folks.